everybody, and welcome to
our favorites.
We are the series where we are working our way through each of our favorite top 10 movies of all time. We already went through my series went through my top 10. Now we went through Jake's top 10, and today we're working our way through Jared's top 10. We are on his number 7th pick of all time, and it is so good.
So good.
Well, honestly, maybe one of my favorites in your whole collection.
My whole collection.
It is, honestly. I love this movie so much. Jared, what is it?
Yeah. The movie is Her from 2013, directed by Spike Jonze. I believe just like your list, Jake, yours Walter Mitty was your most recent, right? That sounds right, isn't it? 2013?
Yeah.
So the most recent on both our lists is 2013. We didn't pick movies that are like 3 or 4 years old. 2012.
Okay, never mind. I thought that was close.
Nope. So this is the most recent one on my list, and it's 10 years old, which
checks out for Jared.
I spent most of this rewatch just being like, this doesn't feel 10 years old.
Dude,
I feel like it just came out, but it does feel like when it came out. But
it's about AI. It feels like it should take place now.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those movies that feels like it's one of those movies that makes you wonder, because you kind of got to consider that kind of a sci-fi movie.
Oh, no, it is a sci-fi movie.
So you wonder, like, okay, looking back at this 10 years ahead of it, or I guess past it,
terrifying.
How much of it was where we're at today was driven by it? Because it was a very popular movie. I think it still is a very popular movie.
Not driven by this movie, but I think it's just terrifying the fact that what this movie has to say about AI and that stuff is still incredibly, even more so relevant now than when it actually came out.
Can you imagine if it came out today? Like, how would it be different?
Do you think it would still be as acclaimed as it is?
I think the screenplay and performances are strong enough to still be great.
I still think it would be different.
It's just different.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that's what's happening. Whereas then it was like, this could happen.
So, do you have, this is why this is my favorite movie that I shouldn't interrupt?
Yeah, I know I kind of jumped in.
Oh, yeah. Well, so set the scene. There I was.
Oh, yeah, there I was.
So 2013 is the year I graduated high school. This movie came out at the end of 2013. Are you okay, Jake?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just had
it was a
old ass
dagger. That was a dagger of age.
Yeah. So it came out at the end of 2013 for award season. I didn't see it until like January 2014. So that's about the time. So around this time that we're filming this at the end of 2023, about 10 years ago from about this month or so. Yeah. It came out real quick. December 18th was its release. I know where I was, which is around here still, but we didn't get it anywhere until award season kicked in, so that's why I saw it later.
Probably the same, actually, for me.
Yeah, I had heard about it because I like in the past couple years before, at the end of high school, I had watched 2 other Spike Jonze movies. I'd watched Adaptation and Being John Malkovich, which are both wild rides. Have you seen either?
No.
Have you seen either?
Adaptation and Being John Malkovich?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, sorry.
Gesundheit.
I know that Being John Malkovich was like a Criterion, and every time they have one of those flash sales, I look at it and I go, nah.
Jared, really quick, I don't want to cut you off. Are there other Spike Jonze movies that I might have seen, or is this?
He only has 4. The fourth one is he adapted Where the Wild Things Are.
That one I've seen.
No way.
Which is way better than people give it credit for.
That's so cool.
It's really good. It's one of those. It's his weakest of the 4, but I kind of want to watch it again because I feel like it's going to be even better now with distance removed and realizing he didn't make a kids film like everyone thought he did. He just made a movie because it's a lot darker and the special effects are very good because it's a blend of CG and animatronic for the creatures or whatever you call them. Yeah. So.
Sorry, go ahead.
But so. Being John Malkovich was his debut. He was a music video director primarily. At the time, he was married to Sofia Coppola.
Oh.
So that's kind of, I think Francis Ford Coppola was a producer on Being John Malkovich. I can't remember, but that was his debut. Charlie Kaufman wrote the script. It's basically 3 people find a portal that puts you in John Malkovich's head. and what is it?
Is John Malkovich in the movie?
Yes, he plays himself.
Cool.
And basically for X amount of time, it's been a long time since I've seen it. For X amount of time, you can't do anything from what I remember. You're like watching what he does. And then it spits you out on the New Jersey Turnpike or something like that.
Interesting.
So like they like start selling tickets to people to be John Malkovich for 10 minutes or whatever at a time. And
sounds bonkers.
It's wonderful. John Cusack is the main character. I think it's Catherine Keener and Cameron Diaz are the other two leads.
So you're telling me John Malkovich is not the main character in being John Malkovich?
No.
Wow.
He's the person they're focused on, but he's not the main character. It's John Cusack, who is a puppeteer.
Huh.
So and Spike Jonze is very, very critically acclaimed. He got nominated for Best Director for it, and that kind of set things off because then a couple years later he directs Adaptation, which is another Charlie Kaufman script, which Kaufman put himself into the movie because he's trying to adapt The Orchid Thief and was having so much trouble. He put himself into the movie, so it's a movie about him adapting a book into a movie.
That's so meta.
It's wonderful. It's one of Nicolas Cage's best performances. He plays a set of twins, which is funny because the other one's name is Donald, who's like his twin brother helping him. Donald is a fictional character, but Charlie Kaufman credits him as writing the screenplay with him. So for the first time in Academy Award history that I know of, a fictional character got nominated for the screenwriting award.
How does that?
Because they credited him, but he doesn't exist.
I don't.
It's so funny. But that's what the movie's about.
So Spike Jonze had quite a
so that's what he. So then, 2007, he does Where the Wild Things Are, and around that time, Charlie
Is this his
Kaufman.
last movie?
He hasn't done a movie since Her. He hasn't.
Wow.
Maybe if he felt like that was just,
Or just
because of what it's about, he just felt like that was
what he needed.
completed. Yeah.
Well, and he's also like one of the guys who hangs out with the Jackass crew.
My mind was just blown.
I think he does hang out with them a lot, like is
funny.
in some of the show and movies. I don't know how much. I've never seen any of it.
That's so.
But I think he's part of that group somehow. But so when he went to make Where the Wild Things Are, Charlie Kaufman started directing his own movies because Synecdoche, New York is 2008, I believe. So he's working on that. So then it's now Spike adapted something. I don't know if he wrote it, but then Her is his screenplay.
Yeah.
And it's looking back on his relationship with Sofia Coppola and like the closure to it. When you watch it, it's about a guy
so much sense.
getting through a divorce.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it was long over at this point. I got to look at when they were married.
That makes so
Let's
much
see.
sense.
It's just a click away if the internet will work.
Jared, I love you giving context to these movies. That just gives me such a different perspective about it. Like I never knew that, and now I'm like, wow, I can understand this.
So 1999 is when he married Sofia Coppola, which is the same year Being John Malkovich came out. They divorced in 2003, which is the year Lost in Translation came out, which is Sofia's second directed movie. She won the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay for it, and they got divorced that year. And have you ever seen Lost in Translation?
I have not.
Okay, I know you haven't, Jake.
We've
talked about it.
Yeah,
because we've talked about it on here before.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, in the movie Lost in Translation, the ScarJo is Sofia Coppola in the movie, basically.
That's so funny.
Yep. When she was like 17 or 18, something like that. Like real young ScarJo. And she's married in the movie to a videographer, who's played by Giamatti Ribisi. And that's supposed to be Spike Jonze. That is her, like, because she at the time was feeling distant from him and isolated. And they got married young, or at least according to that movie. I don't remember what age it said they were, but like that was kind of like her response to a relationship falling out. And that's not the focus of Lost in Translation. That's a big part of it, because halfway through the movie, her husband goes on a shoot and she stays back at the hotel, and you don't see him again, I don't believe.
Okay.
So that's the whole point, is she's feeling isolated. The relationship is not working. She's young but doesn't know what to do with her life. One of those things, typical early 20s existentialism.
Yeah, that's exactly what that is.
So, and it's just funny how 10 years later, Spike then makes his movie, which is about the end of that relationship and him moving forward, and you can tell this is his form of closure with that. Like, the whole movie is about him getting closure and how Samantha helps him through it.
Yeah.
And it's similar to, I was talking to Jake, for your list, La La Land, it's people that come into your life, change you and turn you into who you're going to be or change you for the better, and then they're gone. And it's, we talked about that with La La Land, but that's exactly what this is.
That's so interesting. It just drives home another point that I think is so fascinating, is I really do feel like the best stories come out of, like, serious emotional, I'm not going to say trauma,
personal circumstances.
Yeah, like it just comes...
When a story feels more personal to whoever made it, it feels more personal to the audience.
More genuine, you would say? Is that a good way to say it?
I'd say more personal. I would say that I would relate more to this as a person if I got the vibe that it was from a person that was going through this than if it was like
just made up.
Michael Bay just wrote a story. I don't know why I went with Michael Bay. I needed to illustrate the point.
And even if it's just like one of my, not to go back to my list, but look at Sing Street and look at that's like, I feel like that's something, but like it's also like a positive, more of a positive spin on like going through something personally and very emotionally, but it's still like a positive message at the end. And even if it's positive or sad, like when you just go through that kind of experience and you can translate that into movie making, that's where really good stuff comes out of it. This is one of those things.
You're about to say something.
Are you done?
Sorry,
I could probably keep going, but did you have a thought just now?
So my personal story with this movie, he loves to just rake me over the coals with.
Or do you want me to set the scene and then you drive it home?
You go ahead and set the scene.
We can tie this in because then I can tell my personal experience watching it and then go into yours because that was before that contact.
There you go.
When I heard this was announced and heard what it was about and who was making it, I was so excited. I waited most of that year for that movie, and then when it came out everywhere else and I couldn't see it, I was devastated. I was like, I learned what limited and wide release are.
But this is what taught you what limited and wide release were?
Like, where is it? Where's the movie? They're like, oh, that's the limited release. What's a limited release?
I want to watch it now.
I want it now. So, and it was like, I remember watching the score, the score on IMDb every day. I would go to the library in college. I'd go to the school library, and while I was printing like stuff for class that day, I go to IMDb and check the score real quick. Just be like, oh, well, it's printing. I'll check the score. And it was in like the 6s. And then when it came out, it jumped up into the mid to high 8s. And then it went down slowly and then settled at 8. It's still 8, I think. Yeah. I don't pay attention like that anymore. But at the time, it was like I was just fixated on how IMDb was rated. Mainly because it was in like the late 2000s, early 2010s is when they switched.
You fixate on things?
No,
Jared, no.
But they remember for the longest time, IMDb, you had to pay to rate movies and shows.
Oh, I didn't remember.
For the longest time.
Remember that?
You don't, or you do?
I don't remember that.
I don't remember
mostly because I'd never participated in that. But
same.
I just remember like I want to rate things, but I can't because I have to be a member. You have to pay to be a member. But then they made free accounts sometime at the end of the 2000s, early 2010s, and you better believe I jumped on that.
Yeah.
So it was like I could like actually contribute, and I'm like watching this thing, but I didn't rate it before I'd seen it.
Oh, of course.
So it finally comes out, and I went with my older cousin to the theater I work at now.
Oh, really? That's where you saw it. All
That's where, and I remember being so excited. And as I'm watching it, I found myself looking away from the screen into like a corner where a light was. And it's because I was so engaged and listening to their conversations, I'd get lost in it and just not be watching them because I'm listening. And I felt bad about it at first. I was like, am I not paying attention? And I'm like, it's the opposite.
Beautiful. Sorry.
But it's the opposite of like, no, I'm just so into it. I'm just kind of like getting lost in it and not fully watching because I'm listening because a lot of it is conversations between them.
Yeah.
And that's what it was like. I finally saw a movie that put a lot of my emotions on screen at the time. I was doing the math. 19. Thank you. I was 19 at the time. Kind of, sad boy vibes.
Oh, absolutely.
Trying to be deep.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I'm watching this, I'm like, this is exactly what I want in a movie that's like emotional and like I feel like it's made for me, despite not only not ever being married or divorced, not even being in any relationship at that time or since then, really, like, I don't have the perspective of Theodore, but there are shared emotions and ways that he deals with emotions that I connect to really well, and I think that's what really makes me relate to this, and that's why I loved it. And I remember when, of course, spoilers, everybody.
Oh my God! Please watch this first. Yeah, all right.
For a 10-year-old movie.
Yeah, if you haven't already,
always be careful with spoilers. When it's the goodbye scene, and he's like out in the woods when he's talking to her, and there's like a shot of like what he sees is like a like mortal version of her, but it's only the back of her head like hugging him. I was crying. And to remind our viewers, it doesn't mean I was in the theater. There were tears going down my cheeks, and I was just like,
sure you weren't actually?
I have never cried like that at a movie.
That's crazy.
But there are tears going down my face, and I was like, what?
At a movie.
That's still crazy.
So I was like, I walk out of the movie, it's like, that was even better than I thought it was going to be. I don't know how it was the most hyped movie of the year for me. I knew I'd love it, and then coming out, it's like, that's one of my favorite movies of all time. I can call it right now. Like, remember what we said, how...
You knew that since the first time you watched it.
It's one of those things where we say, usually, you got to let things sink in.
Yeah. You
got to think about things, but there's a certain age when you're watching quote-unquote real movies for the first time, when you get into that discovery phase, and you start watching... Because you have your childhood ones that will always stick with you, and then you get the ones that, like, that define... how you've grown from childhood and what kind of taste you have and will have. And that's one of them where instantly I was like, yeah, that's going to be high up. I think it's been in the top 10 for 10 years. Yeah, in some order.
I could probably say the same thing about my number one, at least.
You just knew it.
You
right
walked
away.
out of Silver Linings, you're like,
it.
that's one of my favorite movies of all time.
I don't think I had that thought, but...
You're like, that was... that's me. That's my family. That's everything
I don't think I've ever felt so much about a movie.
And it's your favorite movie of all time.
It makes sense that it would hit... Yeah.
I think this one has been as high as 5 on my list and as low as like 8. It's always in that middle to lower half because not a lot moves in my top 10. But that one has been up there probably since that first watch.
That's amazing.
So
I'm really curious, how is this working to Jake's?
So
I'm sure you're getting there. I didn't mean
sometime,
he's getting there.
Sometime later.
He likes to set the scene.
I knew. I was just.
And then he's gonna drop the end. Well, it's gonna make me look like a jackass.
You said you were building up to us. I'm just
jackass
curious
forever.
Where it's gonna work.
Forever.
See,
that ties back into Spike Jones.
Spike Jones. Look at that. Look at that.
So, spring break hits, and I go over to Jake. You had moved, but you were back with your parents at your parents' house.
You're telling me that this is 2014.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. I think I know what we were trying to... The answer to what we were trying to figure out.
So, Jake was living with his parents again, and you've been there. It's the downstairs. Okay. There's a room down there.
I don't think he's been down there.
I haven't been down to his down... To
you know the stairs when you walk into the left?
What you're referring to.
You go down there. We were going to watch some movies. I believe we watched the Lego movie. That's the only time I've ever seen it. I can't remember if that is the same... That might have been the... What?
I always think that you saw that in theaters with us.
Nope, I was not there. And then we watched, I believe, The Prestige after. That was our double feature because I was cataloging his movies.
For the first time.
And he paid me with a meal. Like, he got us food. Then we went there, we watched the Lego movie. We cataloged his movies, and we watched Prestige.
Nice.
He never updated that list that we worked hard on.
I've been updating the current one.
Now we recatalogued his movies last year sometime, and he's been keeping up with it. But at the time, we did all that work, and he never once touched it. Now, a lot has happened from that moment to the last time we cataloged it. A lot happened, so it makes sense. But we're in there. We're looking through his movies. We're probably like looking through picking up your like Smallville seasons and cataloging them.
There is a lot of them.
And I mentioned her, and this guy was just so adamant about not wanting to see it.
Really?
But I, right now, don't remember why.
Oh.
I think I can answer the question.
Why?
Do you want to continue? Because there's more.
I'm trying to think if there's any other context. It was basically like me saying to him, oh, yeah, I saw a really good movie. I saw her in theater. He's like, oh. And I was like, what? I'm like, I loved it. Like aren't you going to see it? It's like, no, I really don't want to see that. I probably won't watch that. Why? And I don't remember the reason.
So, 2014 was the year I met my wife. I was especially emotionally vulnerable because my 2013 was also Sad Boy.
We were sad together.
We
Well,
were.
we did see American Hustle in theaters before this, so
That would make
yeah.
us very sad because that is just an awful movie. So I think what was probably going through my head, because when I first met my wife, because I was kind of coming out of this depressive state sort of thing, is I didn't like Silver Linings. I didn't want to watch that because it made me feel super vulnerable. And I didn't want to feel that way or have to deal with that around my then new girlfriend.
makes sense.
And so and there were a couple of other things from the past that I was trying to
process,
keep at bay, keep from ruining this new thing that I was going forward with. And I think that I felt like watching that would drag me a step back.
kind of put you in a bad headspace.
Yes. And I think that is why I was so adamant about not seeing it.
Okay.
That being said, now I watch it and I go, yeah, I was right to think that.
But also, it's like, you probably would love it if you saw it 10 years ago.
That's the thing. Like, it's okay.
It's an important movie.
It's not a bad movie at all. It is a good movie. It is a wonderful, charming love story.
It's a love story.
Yeah. It's a wonderful story about processing grief and relationship and all
moving
that.
on.
And Chris Pratt. Sorry.
Who's actually good in the movie.
Yeah.
He's become kind of a movie breaker, though, but that's a different
I didn't mean to drop it there. That was kind of mean, but yeah.
Watching it this time, or watching it now, I looked at that and I'm like, I am glad I didn't watch. Now putting that together, I'm glad I didn't watch it then, because I would have loved it a lot, and it would have put me in a bad space to move forward with who is now my wife. Especially fighting that whole past thing. It would have been bad. It wouldn't have. I know the movie is supposed to give context for moving through that and getting over it, but it wouldn't have done that for me.
You would have latched on to sad boy Joaquin Phoenix?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That being said, now I watch it and I think I watched it last night.
Oh, wow, that's fresh then.
And I remember the entire time I'm watching this, I'm like, yeah, I remember feeling like that. Yeah, I get that. I've never been married before, but like there have been relationships I have had.
But I mean, it's a breakup though. Everyone goes through breakups.
Yeah. Where it's been like, yeah, I remember feeling like that. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
But as I told him, there is a certain amount of distance from I feel this way, between I feel this way versus I remember feeling this way. So looking at it with my 37-year-old eyes as opposed to 27 is very different. I appreciate it, and I think I would like it on a second watch.
Is this the first time you watched it?
Yes.
Holy shit.
Took him 10 years.
Would like it.
I didn't
Would
realize
like
that.
it more.
That's so crazy.
I think that because I was so paranoid about watching it,
he put it off.
I think I kind of held on to that.
Yeah.
And then it became a joke because it was like
Yeah,
the first couple
that's
years,
right.
it's like he didn't watch it because and then it became like he probably, being Jake, no offense, forgot why he didn't want to watch it. And then
what
just,
have we been talking about today? Neither one of us could remember why I didn't want to watch it.
So then it became like, I'm like, you watch it? He's like, one day I'll probably have to watch it. Just kind of like accepting his fate.
That day finally
was
came.
yesterday. A week and a day before he turned 37.
It's true.
So that's how it took him that long.
No. Well, yeah, I guess it was.
Yep.
No, because I didn't technically start it till noon. So
He started it at noon.
Sorry, midnight.
So yeah, about a week before he turns 37.
Well, yes,
we
I have
finally
watched
saw
the
it.
movie at noon before.
It's a weird time to watch a movie.
It's typically on a Saturday when I'm not doing anything.
But yeah, year after year, it's like one day I'll have to watch it, I guess. And then it was finally like, well, Jake, it was like 2 years ago. If we do that top 10 thing, that's in my top 10. You're going to watch it. And he was like, ugh. And I was like, well, it's a good movie. He's like, I'm sure it is. But now that you've watched it, you're just like, yeah, this is good.
I think this movie is so smart in what it's about.
It's very poetic.
It's extremely poetic.
And I think, not to interrupt you, I think that I never used to like Joaquin Phoenix, like in the early.
Really?
No, never liked him in Signs.
What about Gladiator?
Yeah, Gladiator.
Don't really. He's the Caesar.
He's the bad guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really like him in that. But you're not
supposed to like him.
I also don't really care for The Master as a whole,
which was the year before this.
Oh, okay.
What else has he been in back then?
Back then, Walk the Line.
I never saw that.
Oh,
also I will say in this movie, even just looking at the cases, that man has pretty eyes.
Yeah, he does.
That's what I was gonna say. I think having watched a few more of his movies now, like The Joker or a couple of other newer ones, I think he's in the Bob Dylan movie a little bit. The I'm Not There one.
I don't remember. He's in Hotel Rwanda.
Yeah,
for a small role, like itty bitty role.
Regardless, I started to think maybe he's kind of more of a Daniel Day actor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Than I thought. He really like disappears into his roles.
Absolutely.
Because like that is a very different Joaquin Phoenix than
anything
Joaquin
else.
Phoenix in Joker or
anything. Just I was watching. I was like, I keep forgetting it's him because it's so unlike everything he's done.
Yeah.
What else?
So yeah, I really truly. Before you cut me off, I was gonna say I think this is brilliant, and it works for the medium of cinema because you can focus. Its focus is the script. It won an Academy Award for a script because it's so well written.
Mirroring the Lost in Translation win too.
Yeah, which is
like both winning
so
10 years apart. Apparently, people reports it's in the same universe. Even.
That's so crazy.
Doesn't mean anything, but it's kind of funny. Oh, okay, but another and ScarJo's in both.
But I'm going to get to the cinematography part of this.
Hoyt.
God, I love Hoyt. And the fact that the majority of this movie is just him talking. It's such a simple premise when you boil it down to that. You're getting a lot of one shots. You're getting a lot of vistas. You're getting a lot of being able to play with foreground and background. It's because it's a very simple and easy. I don't want to say easy, but just like when you're looking at your shooting schedule, it's just him. It's simple, so you can really
minimalist.
Minimalist. That's a great word. Yeah. So you can really focus on the lighting, on the color palettes, on the bokeh. Set design. Okay, bokeh's overrated. I'm sorry.
There's a lot of it in here.
I know there is, but I'm just really focusing on the lighting and the color palettes and the set design.
The city shots.
It just and it's beautiful. This is easily one of top 7, top 8 best, in my opinion, best looking movies of all time. And I think one is because Hoyt is an absolute genius, and 2, like I said, you can focus on shooting when your shooting days are one man. All right, we don't have to worry about blocking. We don't have to worry about getting people like background actors working, and then this many people work. I know there's some shots of that, but
there's a lot of shots of people walking around. A lot.
Yeah, but I don't think like
it's fun to count how many have the little.
Yeah, when they're talking
the
to
little
themselves.
thing. Yeah.
But I just think when it's a simple setup, you can really tighten down and make it look fantastic, and they nailed that in this movie.
It's another comparison because like the opening shots of Lost in Translation, not the opening shot, but the ones after, it's like Tokyo at night and the title appears and you got the soft playing music. And then this one, you get that wonderful score by Arcade Fire. It's one of my favorite scores of all time.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. Arcade freaking Fire, man.
And it was nominated, and it should have won. They picked Gravity over it, and I remember watching the ceremony and being visibly upset and even yelling, like, what? It was just that. That was it for Gravity. That's not true, but
because I really love Gravity, you know that, but you're right.
Arcade Fire knocked it out.
It was
freaking park.
It was That was the first year I predicted Oscars. I got 20 out of, at the time there were 24 categories. Now there's 23. I got 20 right, and of the 4 I got wrong was score, because I went personal with her, but part of me was also convinced it was going to win. And when Gravity won, I was so upset. I was like, what?
Yeah, this deserved it. It's beautiful. It's
a very calming movie. Like it's more calming.
It's very ethereal. It's very.
That's a good word. Ooh,
he's a big word for Dickey.
Whoa! Do you need to take 5 minutes to?
Fuck off, guys! I had to drop it. Like, listen, it's worth It's worth using my vocabulary. It is a damn good movie. I love the look of this.
Dickey was in the movie. He's a little alien kid.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
The movie is also funny. And that is the voice of Spike Jonze.
No!
Yep.
That's actually Spike Jonze.
And he apparently would do the alien kid voice on set too. Just just randomly.
I would be so annoyed if I was working on this. Like, Spike, shut up.
That does kind of.
You wouldn't yell
like
at the director to shut up. Though.
Well, no, but
but also
it.
he's like, okay, print it. And then they walk. He's like scurrying to the next setup.
I love that.
That does sound like someone who hangs out with the jackass crowd.
Yeah.
The fun fact. So the video game that he's playing. So that animation.
Yeah.
I remember being like, that animation. One, it still looks good. Oh. I love how it's like it is. So it's like, yeah, video games project in front of us where we're just moving our hands in front of it and it's picking it up.
Kind of is happening now.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's like I remember thinking like, what a perfect way to show, because all they say is the near future, because it's like, yeah, it's a perfectly plausible thing that probably will happen, and it's not that hard to do. It's not that expensive probably to do.
No, but this movie was cheap to make.
It was $23 million.
A little more than
seems cheap.
A little more than I would have expected, but still in the cheap end, yeah.
And then, so I read about it because I go, that animation does look pretty familiar. So, gotta remember his name. Where is he?
Someone else work on this?
Nope, that's the wrong tab.
The FX artist.
Someone from Corridor Crew.
Corridor Crew, yes.
Okay.
They do great stuff.
So it's an animation artist named David O'Reilly. He, I believe, is Irish. He's from Kilkenny. He worked for Cartoon Saloon in his teens.
Okay.
He then did a music video for U2 that I love in 2009. Cool. So that's where I saw the animation. I was like, oh, I've seen this before. You've seen the music video before too. It's for I'll Go Crazy If I Don't Go Crazy Tonight. It's all the people in like a cityscape.
Oh, yeah.
So it's that guy, and then he has made a couple video games since then, like simulator games, which are, I just had them. One is Everything, and then Mountain. Those are his 2 games. He also worked on Son of Rambo and the Hitchhiker's Guide adaptation.
I can totally see the Hitchhiker's I can see that influences.
You a big fan of that movie, Jake?
No.
I love that movie. My parents hated it.
I've never seen it, but yeah, that was just a fun thing.
Yeah, it does.
That was just a fun thing. It was like, so that's where I've seen this animation.
That's so neat. I love that.
Yeah, so just a fun tidbit.
Saloon in his teens, huh?
Like 14 is when they hired him or something.
How old is he?
He is 38.
Good for
him. He must have been around for a lot longer than
apparently
what I'm familiar with.
Yeah, I think they had done probably animation for other things before making their own movies. Because I think Secret of Kells is 09.
Yeah.
So, something like that. That's what it said on here, so I hope it's right.
I love that. And yeah, you're right. Like this, the projecting of the video game in the universe. It's simple, and that's why it works.
Is that a game that they're playing him in the Amy Adams character?
No, she was playing that. She was like a game developer type person. That was like a mom game where you're like playing it.
Yeah, were they playing it?
He was playing what is the word called when it's just like the mock-up? Is it beta?
Oh.
He was playing the beta because she told him about it in an earlier scene, and he's playing. It's like it's just like I don't know video game terms, but you're just playing a mom trying to be like the best mom.
Yeah.
Doing like chores and taking care of your children and being like class mom.
And Amy Adams was so good in this too.
Wasn't she, Jake?
I didn't recognize that was Amy Adams at all.
Really? You didn't?
I didn't. I don't know if I wasn't thinking about it or if it was too late.
Well, that's a
at
good
night,
thing,
so I just didn't recognize her.
I mean, she's been good. She was good with it. You did not even know that was her.
Jared said she's in. I was like, was she the next? Because I knew this was around The Master, so I didn't know how close they were like filmed together. So I was like, was she the pregnant woman?
Oh yeah, she got nominated for The Master.
Was she? I have no idea. Was she actually pregnant during The Master, or was that?
I don't know. I mean, I can probably click on her name and check. Like, when was Amy Adams pregnant? That's going to be. No,
or you could
actually,
just
I lost
Google
internet.
Amy Adams and see if she has children.
No, I can't. I lost internet.
Well, never mind then. But yeah, no, she knocked it out of the freaking park in this movie. She's not in it that much.
So I know
she shines.
they knew each other from The Master, her and Joaquin, but apparently Spike Jonze would like put them in a room together for an hour a day to get them to get used to each other. Okay. And that's why when they talk, it feels like friends talking to each other.
Oh, I like that.
And they have been close friends since then because of that.
Freaking awesome! That's so heartwarming.
Yeah, it really is, and you can tell in those scenes when they're talking. It's like, yeah, I can. Like, one thing you notice when you watch movies is like, how do you weave the comedy and serious stuff into friend conversations or even like significant other conversations?
Gosh, she was in Catch Me If You Can.
That's right, and it's like you have to balance it because you can have it all be one of like the funny. It's only funny or only serious, but I feel like in real life a lot of times, unless it's something super serious, you're weaving in little bits of like friendly teasing or jokes.
It makes it feel natural.
Yeah.
The humor in this feels very natural.
Yeah. And that's just the writing. The writing in this, obviously, it's reason it won.
I do have a pretty funny story about the opening of this movie.
What's that?
So, my wife likes to go to bed before me, but she likes me to come to bed with her.
Same, actually. But.
So, I often will watch a movie. If I'm not ready to fall asleep, I will watch a movie or remote play my PlayStation on my iPad. Mm-hmm. I decided to watch this on my iPad. Well...
Oh, Jared just died a little bit inside when you said that.
Oh, it's funny. No, it's I know.
My iPad actually has a better screen than my television.
Oh, there you go.
But anyways, so you know the opening scene of this.
I do, but just
where he
me
has phone sex with...
Yes!
That's not the opening scene. The opening scene was him writing the letter where it's just... right here.
Oh,
but you're talking first 10 minutes when he and Kristen Wiig are...
And then that was Kristen Wiig?
Yeah.
Yes. And the second voice was Bill Hader. Doing a woman's voice.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it is. He is credited.
I think he just blew Dickie's mind. Funny.
Anyway.
That's ironic. Anyway, so my wife is laying in bed next to me, and she's hearing this thing where they're having sex, and then they're like, strangle me with a cat.
and he goes, and
what the f*** are you watching?
And there's this face he makes too. It's like, choke me with a dead cat, and he's... What? And he's like, I picked it up. I'm choking you with it. I got its tail around your neck. It's dead cat. Yeah, it's dead. I was laughing so hard.
Funny scene.
And then she just promptly, like, after she finishes, it's just like she just hangs up. And that's it. And he's just like, what? Oh man! God, and your wife's reaction was like, "What are you?"
My wife's like, "What are you watching? Should I watch this with you?" And I was like, "No, it's some movie that's in Jared's top 10. You're not gonna want no." She's like, "Why are you friends with him?"
She said that. You didn't tell me that. You were waiting to drop this on me on the podcast.
Oh yeah,
fantastic. Oh my God, I love that. That's so funny.
Shifting gears. We're going to get out of this.
And then she was awake for the scene with ScarJo.
Oh, and
first scene.
When they were having phone sex?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was...
God, that's so...
It was very interesting watch with my wife awake.
Which it's also funny because like 2 minutes of that scene is just a blank screen.
Yeah, it is.
It's very
Again,
effective.
though, it's more about what's implied than what's not.
And I love that the focus on audio and the focus on dialogue, because not a lot of movies do that.
That is one thing that I felt, I don't know if I will say didn't like about the movie, but that's one thing that I wish for my old brain was that they would have telegraphed a little bit more that the little phone thing was where she was hosted. It took me forever to get that, to like understand that, to like about halfway through the movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know. Again,
I love the little safety pin though
If
that
I-
keeps the phone out of the pocket.
if I just
that's
like
great.
looked away when they introduced that or that
Classic you looking
concept.
away when it's important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot to mention, Rooney Mara's in this. Plays
She did a
his
great job.
Yep,
Yeah.
plays his
X.
ex. They had met before this, but this is where they like became friends. They are now engaged.
Are they
Joaquin and
really?
Rooney Mara. They have a kid together,
Good for them.
and they're going to get married. So like, they actually became a couple years after this. I just think
She
it's like
played his ex. That's kind of funny.
before she was even like with him. It's just funny.
That is really funny.
Yeah,
I like that.
I felt really shifting you. I felt really bad for him at the end of that date with Olivia Wilde because it went well. They were drunk, were buzzed. You know what I mean? Like they're a little
happens.
loopy,
That's what you do.
and they're making out, and it's like, oh, okay. And then all she says is like what they're gonna do, and I don't have much time. I don't have much time. I just want to know if this is not gonna go anywhere. And him being hesitant, not just because of the separation and the holding on to things, but just like being this hesitant person like
that hurt me to my core.
and I was like, oh, buddy, because that's how I feel on anything. Like, you're hesitant to do it. And so when he doesn't jump, she flips on him instantly.
And I get
when
that,
she
though.
goes,
I understand
you're
that.
a real creepy dude. And I go, no, he's not.
But I understand.
But and I know
really-
why she did. And then
Yeah.
I do love how he didn't just take it. He was like, no, I'm not. And she's like, yeah, you are. It's like, oh, bud, poor guy.
And especially in that interaction, like the fact that you can see it from both sides, but it's just sometimes people meet and they just don't click and it falls apart. Like that's just a human and natural thing, and they portrayed it perfectly in this. No one's the good guy, no one's the bad guy. It just didn't work, and that's okay. And I thought that was beautiful.
Yeah. I still cried this time. I hadn't cried at a movie since
Cry more movies, Jared.
since rewatching all the Land
Feel
Before
something,
Time.
Jared.
Remember, I told you the Land Before Time watched through 2.5 years ago. That's the last time I've cried at a movie.
That's the last time Jared cried, probably.
Actually,
I cried watching.
Yeah.
I cried watching Doctor Who this morning.
Yeah, but you cried
did you
at
watch
everything.
the specials?
I did.
You didn't watch Jodie Foster, or what's her name? Not Jodie Foster.
Whittaker.
Yeah, there we go.
I know. I'm a sexist
You're
because I didn't watch
you're
Jodie
doing it
Whittaker,
wrong,
but
bro.
I jumped in for David Tennant.
You don't spoil it. Don't you dare spoil
so
it.
good, Jake.
Don't you dare.
Jake, it's so
I'm
good.
going to flip this table. If you
Have you
spoil
watched
it,
any of
I
them?
will No, I'm going to watch all the Jodie Whittaker.
Oh, you're actually gonna watch
You
all
gotta-
of Jodie
Yes!
first? Okay, respect.
You need
Respect.
context for
Respect.
any of that
You
to
actually
work.
don't need context.
I don't care. I need context.
I don't think I needed context for it, and it worked, and I cried because you like David Tennant, right?
I mean, who doesn't like David Tennant?
Yeah, you're gonna cry.
As a general rule.
You're going to cry. Sorry.
Are you done talking about your little nerd stuff?
Sorry.
Can we get back to the
Our
nerd stuff?
I meant
One of
to-
your favorite movies is about artificial intelligence.
I meant to bring
falling
this
in
up.
love with an artificial intelligence, and our little nerd stuff.
I meant to bring this up to Jake before, but I forgot, so it just came to my mind, and now I had to. Sorry.
But yes, I cried. And there's another part I got real teary-eyed, and it's because of the music. It's when things aren't going well, and he's sitting on the steps. I can't remember if it's before or after the surrogate scene, which very uncomfortable, and I felt bad for all three of them. It's so sad. But he's sitting on the steps, and she like asks him if it's okay, if his everything, and he doesn't know. And it's playing a song from it's the first track of the soundtrack, and I was getting. And then during the goodbye, again, same spot as before, I was like breathing hard. Whew.
It hits you.
And then like that shot with Amy Adams leaning on him at the end is so good.
I was terribly afraid that they were gonna like jump off the building.
That's right.
Were you really?
I was because
Oh
I was
my
like I was
God.
at a point where
I didn't think it was gonna go that far.
I didn't. Again, I've never seen this before.
Okay.
I'm watching this 10 years removed from. It feels like the time that I should have watched this, and I'm thinking, are they gonna like kill themselves to like try to follow the OSs? Is that what this is gonna be?
That would have been wild.
Yeah.
That would have been such a plot twist.
Yeah, I know. And I was like, please don't, please don't, please don't, please don't. And then they didn't, and I was like,
it's funny because then I was telling you earlier, when this came out at the job I worked at, a coworker of mine, he was into movies and he had watched it and loved it, and his response was, "Yeah, I called him and Amy Adams getting together at the end," and I go, "I don't think it's that cut and dry. I guess if that's your interpretation, sure. I think it's more of just two very close friends that are supporting each other because they both have lost someone."
I think it's just the physical support of another human as opposed to
which
that is also not sex.
I personally stand by. We need more just male and female
platonic
relationships.
Yeah, because when she leans on it's just friends.
Yeah, absolutely. And
if you want to interpret it more that, sure, but it was kind of a cut and dry, and he wasn't being annoying about it. I said, I think it's more ambiguous than that, and I don't think that's the focus. I think it's just more of, it's a soft ending of this technology that they relied on for this companionship is gone, and they have to rely on actual physical beings again. Because the whole movie is about connection with technology and each other and all that. On top of the relationship stuff, there's a lot happening without it ever feeling overcomplicated or anything. So that's oh man, that last shot. I was bringing up to him too the ear thing. Like, I don't think we had many, if any, wireless earbuds that you'd hit to like start and stop
certainly
things.
Not that they were that small. Yeah.
And now everyone has earpods and all that, and there are some you hit them to like, I don't know, I don't have any.
My Beats, you tap them.
So, I mean, same with mine. My current AirPods I can just tap.
Did you guys have a meltdown when he puts the thing in and asks her a question and there's nothing? It's like, what? And he's like, because she was updating.
Yeah, that was the scary part.
I do like how the small detail is he's running back home and he falls and one guy's like, "You okay, man?" Like, people actually like go to him because it's like, oh, good, it's not New York.
Did I approach this movie different because I had a certain amount of distance from her as an AI? I was like, oh, because in my head
I fell for
she's like a software.
But I've also because I watched this 10 years ago, so I already knew that.
So do we have anything else to say about her?
Yeah, so I really need to mention ScarJo's voice acting in this is so good, and you want to know where she broke in voice acting. This might not be her first role, but you want to know where I realized that she was a good voice actor and that she could have this role? SpongeBob SquarePants movie. Just saying. It's because of her performance in SpongeBob that she was able to fine-tune it.
You just gotta believe. I believe that's the spirit. I do like the Mindy, did you see my underwear? No, Patrick, did you want to?
Are you telling me she wasn't just getting...
Daddy, no, Daddy, yes! I love that movie. That is a movie that cheers you up. It's weird hearing her now because it's like she sounds so much younger.
Yeah.
But I mean, she was acting. She's a kid actor before this.
Yeah.
The oldest thing I know her in is The Horse Whisperer, the Robert Redford movie.
Wasn't?
And that's like 1993. So she was probably like 10, 12, something like that.
Yeah.
So that's the earliest one I know of. So she's been acting longer than me and you have been alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what were you saying?
Before you mentioned that, because I do recognize that movie, I think the oldest thing I've seen her in is like Home Alone. Was it 3 or 4?
3. Yeah, that's
3.
That's like 2001 or something.
Is it really that young?
I feel like it's in the 2000s. I'm gonna.
Was it Home Alone 3?
She's the sister. She's not in it a ton because the family leaves. And if I had internet, I could check. Oh, there it goes.
What's the plot of Home Alone 3?
That's the computer chip one. The kid gets the computer chip and the
he has to stay home because he's sick, and he puts a computer chip in the car, and the car is the big gimmick of the.
I do remember. Yeah, I definitely remember.
And I think
it's,
as a kid you watch it and you're just watching it for them getting hurt. That's like it.
Absolutely.
And I remember the thing that made me lose it as a kid is, I think it's this one. He puts the 1997, by the way, so only like 4 years. 4 years? No,
2 years, I think.
When was Home Alone 2?
3.
I could have.
No, 3 is 97.
I could have swore it was 95, 94.
That sounds right. This would load.
I thought Home Alone 1 was
1990.
Oh, I thought that was 91.
90.
That's 1990.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
That's 1990. And Home Alone 2's got to be 92. I'm guessing it's not loading, but.
Did any of you guys check out that 8-week Home Alone deep dive podcast?
I saw it popped up on my feeds. I didn't watch it, but it popped up on.
They spent a whole hour on the motivations of Frank.
That's right.
God.
It was wonderful. I don't even know who these people are. Drew sent it to me, and he's like, "Hey, listen to this if you want to laugh." I was like, "Okay."
That's where they're doing a deep dive for Home Alone.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Okay, I'm gonna use my phone. It keeps cutting out. I'm just loading Google, and it's kicking me off.
What are you checking out? I already forgot.
Just what your Home Alone 2 was. That's all I want. 92.
There you go.
I could have used my
92?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, we weren't alive yet.
No. Not even a thought.
I remember having the VHS tape of that.
I have the VHS tape of that.
And seeing Donald Trump and not knowing who the heck it was.
Nope, he just
I wish I could go back to those days. I didn't say that out loud.
But I was going to say the one gag that gets me is, that got me as a kid really, he fills up the pool and he covers it.
That's right.
And he puts the trampoline over it and takes the springs out, and so they jump from the window and go straight into the pool. And I thought that was the funniest thing.
I'm gonna be real with you. There are a couple of funny
there's going to
when they get hurt moments.
I mean, that's the best part. Is that physical humor of them getting.
But
it's not 90s physical humor. It's like the transition out of 90s physical humor when it started to get stale.
Yeah.
Home Alone is prime that. The Home Alone to Jingle All the Way era is the prime era of that.
Yeah. But that goes so ScarJo for you is SpongeBob. For me, it's Horse Whisper. For you, you said Home Alone 3. So basically,
as far as I know, anyway.
Not yours. Yours is 04, but 90s movie, basically 20 years ago or more, 20 or 30 years ago. She's been acting for a while. She, funny enough, was not the original voice of Samantha. They had Samantha Morton was on set being the voice of Samantha, who talked to Joaquin Phoenix. And during post, they realized her voice just wasn't working, and she knew it too. So they decided to cast ScarJo. So Samantha Morton is credited in the special thanks or something. She has credit for the work she put in, but she and Spike Jonze and the crew decided they had to go with a different voice.
Huh.
So if you see that, she's the one that he's talking to on set. Is Samantha Morton?
That makes sense. That's gonna lead me to asking is his performance was so good. Was he seriously just acting against nobody? Or
no, he's talking to her, but ScarJo was not on set. They brought her in post to do that.
To do all that.
But yeah,
that's interesting.
There are moments of that movie where it's not, and it happened in the theater. I probably mentioned it, and at the beginning of it. I looked away. I'd look away at times, just kind of drift off. I think I mentioned that first theater, and I did it a little bit this time, kind of looking in the background like I usually do, but then a little, and it's because you get lost in these conversations, and there's something sultry about her voice, just in general, when it's calmer like this, and it's she has a very effective voice, and just get lost in it.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's why it works. Not only, it's funny how you say, they have chemistry, but they weren't acting off each other. She's watching his clips.
And it's also not.
And he's not hearing her. But
robotic voice. Can you imagine if that would have been a robotic voice? How much different the movie would have.
Yeah, that would have.
Or just if it was just a bit more stiff.
Yeah.
Well, and then there's that parody of this called Jexy with.
I've heard of that.
What is his name from the Pitch Perfect movies?
That's the Amazon one.
What's the big guy?
The big Adam Devine?
Yeah. Where it's making fun of what if he falls in love with his phone.
Oh, I
heard it was terrible.
That.
But there's a parody. There's a BoJack episode where if you remember, Todd's locked in his car and the GPS or the two phones are in love or something. The GPS is something different. The two phones are in love, and he's with them through this whole cycle of a relationship throughout the episode. or something. And I remember thinking, like, this feels like her. And then you're like, oh, yeah, that's supposed to be a straight-up parody because BoJack started in 2014.
So that's right on time.
And hers 2013. Well, was that season 1? It was either 1 or 2. It's early BoJack, but the point being, it would have been with a couple years of that. So there has been some parodies, but not that it's not been forgotten. We've mentioned in this episode that it was very popular. I think Jake's the one who mentioned that. Mm-hmm. But it is one of those, like, it's popular. It just, there wasn't really a big trend that followed it because it's like, how many times can you tell this type of story? But we got the parody, and we probably have references to it in media at the time, like the BoJack thing.
I also think
that's kind of it.
Its style has been imitated as well, at least in the time within like the 5 or 10 years of when it came out.
If like the look of the 2010s, if the darker neon noir side is Drive, like that set the tone. That's 2010. That set the tone for the whole decade. Really... Like the flip side hipster part, inspired. That's her. It's not as big, but like it's right. Kind of the same thing.
Like, that's the what was that graph? The 2 circles.
A Venn diagram.
Yeah. It's like literally that's what it is.
Yeah, so what's in the middle? It's her and Drive. What's in the middle? Yeah. What looks like both? Do we have anything?
That's a good question.
Think of stuff. Just
2049.
That's not the right era, is it?
Yeah, that's 2010.
It's the 10s.
It's 2017.
Oh, okay.
2017.
I feel like that's a little bit of a mixture.
Yeah, it's got that. It's because I'm thinking of like when they go to Vegas and it's like that. It's like they got that thick filter on where everything kind of looks like is steamy a good way. It's got like this cloudy.
If you're gonna make that argument, you can make an argument for Ad Astra too.
Ooh,
there you go.
Or maybe I'm not sure. Maybe Argo.
No, that feels more like handheld Bourne stuff, but in the 2010s where it's less this.
Oh, it's way
audio listeners, I'm shaking my hand.
You say that, but you love that window shot from Ultimatum.
Because it's not this. It's a Steadicam or whatever that's following him. I wonder if they had it on like a zip line or a crane or something.
No, someone literally just jumped out after him.
They're not a lot, but there are some good shots in the Bourne and stuff.
I think because what did I watch? Last year when I had COVID, I watched the 3. I didn't watch the 2 after it.
Okay.
I don't own them, and I watched the 3. And as I'm watching, I'm like, we make fun of the shakiness and the handheld, but it fits the style.
It definitely
and the fight choreography is really good. There are times you can't see it.
Yeah.
And it's probably hiding certain things, but it's really like it works. But then every movie started doing that. In movies where it doesn't, like this works because of how it looks. Other movies that don't look like this tried to do it, and it's like.
And I could even say the same for her as well. Like, I feel like if you don't have a talented cinematographer or set designer working behind it and you try to just leave these just open shots and just sit on it, if it's not interesting, if it's not, like, engaging, you're going to just blow it off and, like, this is just boring to look at. So, I mean,
it's the color palette that is the look of the movie. That's the big thing. A lot of pink. Yes. A lot of bright, warm colors. Mm-hmm. And a lot of white with it, so it's like you have a lot of blank space and it fills it out. It's kind of it's weird. It feels almost minimalist.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that they wanted to it seems like they wanted to use the color palette to soften what they were kind of talking about to make it feel more like a romance than what it actually was.
Yeah, it's supposed to have a warm feeling. It's got there's a lot of sadness. It's a bittersweet ending, of course. It is sad, but there's like this hopefulness because it's about closure.
Mm-hmm. I also think that if you change the colors, you'd have very easily could have a very much darker movie.
Oh, make it all blue and it's sad.
Yeah,
make it all
teal and orange.
Yeah, like that's literally what it is. Like you change the color, it's a different mood.
Absolutely.
So, great movie.
Oh, such a good movie.
Oh, man.
Any more thoughts on her?
I think I've said my piece. It's
all right.
Yep. Staying in the top 10. Just as you always get scared of like. Mm-hmm. Ever since Jake's Looper episode, it made me also go like, am I going to like this as much as I did?
Yeah. So far, you're on track to like everything the same, right? We're up through 7, and this is.
Yeah, it's been good so far.
All right. Well. This was a great episode, and I say stick around to episode 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 that we got for this. But before that, if you want to check out where you can find us on social media, Jared, what are those handles?
You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, the funny TikTok, and X. And listen to us on Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio. And if it's YouTube, like, subscribe, comment, ring our bell. Make sure you like and rate us on all those apps, and check out our groovy website.
Absolutely. So, yes, like I said, stay tuned. Next week, we have episode 6. Jared's talking about his 6th favorite movie of all time, which is...
I just lost it.
Oh.
I should know. I'm just making sure I say this right. And to get on my phone again, I had it loaded, and then it just decided to refresh on me. Sorry, everybody. Stupid. Now it loads when I get my phone out.
His 6th favorite movie of all time, ladies and gentlemen, is...
There Will Be Blood.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yep, that'll be next week. We'll have our guest back with us.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep, so there'll be 4 of us again next week. So make sure you watch that in preparation for next week. It's going to be fun.
Absolutely, yes. So tune in next week, and until then, we'll see you guys next time.